so they sign actually a treaty with another race or another species. And say, okay, look, it's cool. We want your technology because we need to like ramp up this humanity like fast, right? You see that until 1940, there's no progress in this world. Everybody's more or less the same. But somewhere around 1955, 60, all of a sudden, whoa, there's a switch in technologies and awareness. And it can't happen normally. So there was a clear input from outside. And some of which, for me, I'm a positivist, an optimist, Sagittarius rising. I see positive in it. But there were obviously other things. There were more sinister things. The counterparty he was correctly informed. Research down the road was asked, like the other folks, do some, let's say, experiments in genetic engineering with some of the humans. That's the part of the story that's some of our computing power. These transfers of technologies were, of course, between scientific think tanks, government think tanks, mainly defense, non-disclosed defense, aerospace industry also, very particular aerospace is involved in this. By the way, NSA had this department of the ACIO working together with aerospace, just like RAND Corporation today, which is somewhat associated with all this. RAND Corporation was formed by the Air Force people. Air Force was involved in getting RAND Corporation off the ground. So I'm giving you a bigger picture here of how everything comes together in the United States of, let's say, the 1950s, 60s to up to, say, 98, 2000. Then in 2001, things are starting to happen that look really strange on the face of it. You know, where scientists say, yeah, but that plane probably goes through that stuff. There's a lot of strange stuff. And those of us who know what Neruda had told us, he had said, look, two things you need to understand, guys. This whole thing is one. With their technologies, they can command and control the global economy, the global defense, because the defense will be global, and basically global everything. In particular, he makes mention of the fact that their technologies and high computing power and algorithms can actually do with the markets, gold, silver, any market, currencies, stock markets, whatever they want. If Monday morning they decide the thing goes down by 10,000, then down it goes. If they decide it goes to 30,000, there it goes. If they decide to flash crash in 5 minutes, there's nothing that they can't do. So you just have to understand that there are correlations of everything that we've studied. And it's sort of up to our imagination now how to put it together. So I go into the land of imagination for two reasons. One is the personal level, what we talked in the beginning about internal change, where I see our only tool to do something constructive is imagination. We have to figure out what can we do with ourselves. Most people say, there's nothing I can do about anything, and when you say to a client, yeah, but you can. You can imagine a better place to live, you can imagine a better company to buy, or you can imagine a better job to have, or whatever, something different. Most people will say, I know what you mean, I'm not an artist, I can't think of anything else. So you have to kind of train and teach folks to say, yeah, you can. You can just sit down and take a piece of paper and a pen and write a list of where would I like to live? What kind of persons would I like in my life next year? What kind of work would I like to do? And in general, what could I do that's different from what I'm doing now? So that's a tool that you can actually, and I mean all of you do it anyway. That's something that we can do to change our internal both perception to the outside and management of inside, and then apply to what we do externally, continuously use this creative power and this force that we have from inside to change outcomes, like continuously using the things I've just mentioned. Once you decide, I want to create a gold fund, right? Then you have to apply what I just said. Well, how am I going to do a gold fund? Well, then there you go. You write your list and go about doing it. You see, all of the stuff I'm showing you and my friends and my clients is that it's totally doable. And most of you sitting here, of course, must be laughing and saying, yeah, that's right, that's exactly how I did it. We're talking a little bit also to those who are watching us and who are, and I know this from the reactions of my readers and also some clients, they are under a lot of stress. You understand? People who do not have this internal peace of mind and knowing that it's all good. And I'm not kidding you when she says to me always, St.Clair, it's all good. Despite of after events, despite of all the stuff that we know eventually we will, as a whole group of humans, take the next turn. But it's at the moment more urgent that we do to turn ourselves, each one for herself, for himself. And then when we can do it, those of us, those of the others who are around you, you know, your friend, your child, your uncle, your business partner, whoever, they see, wow, this guy just changed in 1 year. I knew him then, and now this is another person. What happened? Then you can show them. You don't have to teach them. You don't have to share the stuff that I'm saying. That's why our rule of thumb is show them, don't tell them. They will then sort of intuitively grasp what you are able to do. Maybe you can give them a few tips, say, write a list of stuff and so on, and imagine and visualize. Or you can do what I did. And this is kind of fun. I knew that I liked crystals and I like gold. And this I know, it's just because I like, I don't know why. Crystal and gold, I found out if you put crystal and gold together, you create some sort of magnetic stream, almost electromagnetics. I'm not a scientist, like I said, I'm self-taught, so I don't know the right words. But it began because I was collecting crystals like a crazy person, and I had boxes and boxes of the stuff. But I wanted to look nice at my tables where I would work, because I use crystals also to protect the computers and myself from, you know, stuff and telepathy that I didn't want, or just elements that I knew should stay out, so I could write my book. And then I used to put the crystals in big jars, like, you know, imagine a vase full of it, and then I have to move again to another place. Okay, now everything has to go. I prefer you do. And then this friend there, he looked at it and said, okay. I said, well, $2,000. He has a gold thing. I said, yeah, give me one. And then a month later, he comes to see me and give me another one. So he and her and you, those were the first few who have those. And then we did the website of it. I created maybe another 100. And somebody told me, quit it now because you're going to dilute it. So granted, they're not cheap because it's complex to do them right. And it's my artwork. It's just three-dimensional paintings. I can hand one to you. You can just pass it around. So I call them resonators. Some of them have gold coins in it, or plain gold, or silver. And some of them have gemstones in it. There's another one there, right? Oh, yeah. Some of them have combined structures that can stand on a table. Pass it around. And some of them you can use like mirrors. And that's enough to your imagination. You can just say, okay, you there, your good force out there, let's say a trans-dimensional shape. They travel, by the way, all interdimensional. They don't. The real guys, the big guys, they don't move a tin can from A to B through space. It take them 80,000 years to go from one place to the other. Because they travel to trade, by the way, they do trading. Right? They trade from one galaxy to the other. The Earth is a stopover point among many. And so there are some good guys out there, very advanced, that they're positive towards us. They say, look, we're going to help you guys do our experiment. We need to bring you now up here 10,000 years into the future now. You need to move. And so there are good guys. There's some that are not so good. Some are saying, now we just want to own this planet and control us. But the good guys, you can get in touch with them through these mirrors. And they gave me this idea. I didn't really come up with the idea. Sure, I was playing around, but eventually something said to me, do this. No question. Because I'm the kind of guy who, when I get an outside input, I usually say, yeah, but no, because it has to be from me. Since I'm a little guy, it always has to be from me. If it came from outside, father, mother, whatever, now. Teacher, no. So I was a bit warped, you know. So in my next book, by the way, which I will share with you maybe next year, I talk more about a bit my childhood and how this all went. But anyway, when I was then about 48 years old, I'm now 56, 47, 9 years ago, I built the first one. They were relatively rudimentary or primitive because I wasn't yet technically able to do it right. But these ones that you're holding now, those are the more advanced ones, my latest ones. After which time, this was 2 years ago, I decided to no longer craft any more of those. And we still have about 40 or 50 that are available. And then if everything is gone, we'll see, I can do something new. Generally, I don't like to do always the same stuff with myself. I get bored quickly. I have Mars in Gemini. By the way, Mercury is today exactly where Mars was when I was born. And Neptune is today exactly where my Sun was when I was born. And Saturn is now exactly where Jupiter was when I was born. I was born in the Grand Cross in the mutable signs for the astrologers. And we have now 3 of those points occupied. So you, sir, said to me, therefore, I'm what? The spokesman? You said spokesman, right? And then I said to her, he said, I'm the spokesman. And she said, yeah, but of what? So, those guys
of what? Extemporaneous.
Extemporaneous.
Just to close the bag on the
yes, Johnny has a question.
Uranus Pluto conjunction, right?
Yes,
In the 60s.
1963, 4, 5.
And it takes, what, 80 years?
Okay, it takes 84 years for Uranus to go around. And so by 1944, 47, more or less, it's a long phase. It's going to be several years, 4 or 5 years, more or less. That's why I mentioned it. If it was just an astrological contact that takes a month, I would say, you know, the big picture, forget it. But this is big stuff to talk about. So 84 years for Uranus, that brings it in 1944, 47, back to that point in Virgo where it was in the 1960s. Pluto is more or less a 250-year thing. That's a long time. So that's, let's say, the United States of America of 1976, if you want to use that chart, would then be tracked back to its beginning. So, I mean, I'm simplifying. But in 2044, 45, 46, 47, Pluto will be in Pisces, exactly opposite of Uranus. So in that same time, 84 years, Pluto will have gone from the 12 o'clock position on your watch to the 6 o'clock position on your watch. Now you will say, yeah, but that's only 1/3 of the 250 years, right? Why does it do half? Well, that's because Pluto is not exactly doing a circle. It's doing sort of a strange spin. And so your question was as to...
So if the 60s meant X,
yes.
What does Y mean in 45?
That's a really good question. Johnny always comes up. I can't answer it like that, what it means, but maybe you can when you think about it. It means that Uranus is in the same spot, but I would suggest advanced, because real astrology is not as mathematical, arithmetical, and linear-minded only. Yes, it is, sure, there's mathematics and only mathematics behind it. The entire star language is mathematics. But the point you need to understand among the astrologers, the others who have not studied astrology, possibly figuring it out faster, is that the astrology that we in the Western world know today is a pretty rudimentary, simplified affair that we can grasp. But in reality, and I was taught this many, many thousands of years ago, astrology was alive. And it was multidimensional. You couldn't just draw it on a two-dimensional map or a computer. You would have to understand astrology like Dr. Ed Mitchell explained to me space travel. And he knows astrology. He said to me, okay, let's do my chart. So I did his chart. And I said, you know, you're Virgo, and you did that, blah, blah. And then he said, so you understand the stars, right? Because I've studied fixed stars, by the way. Fixed stars is the backdrop behind the planets. The planets are called wanderers in Greek, planets, and they just rotate around and around. That's so nice. And that much we can understand, 10 planets, maybe 12, asteroids, centaurs, then discovering more and more stuff as we go. So in 10 years, our mathematical astrology is barely graspable even for an IQ 200. Right? There are centaurs right now, we have Nessus in Pisces, we have, things some people have never even heard the names of. And how we're supposed to know what it means, right? Nessus was discovered maybe 20 years ago, so there's no data of what this is supposed to mean anyway, so you can kind of make it up as you go. But what you can do is you can observe what's going on. That would be applying Krishnamurti, just observe. In short, that Uranus has advanced also. It's not just because it's at 5 degrees Virgo like it was then. Oh, here we go again, 5 degrees Virgo. Yeah, sure, 5 degrees Virgo has a Sabian symbol. You can do all these kind of mind games, and they're good. I mean, they're very positive input. You can read a lot into it, like I showed you in my little booklet. And Pisces, the aviator. Did you get that? The aviator. The aviator. The aviator. 10 Pisces, Neptune, 10 Pisces, the aviator. So just because we are at the same point with Uranus at that time, 84 years later, it doesn't mean that's the same story, because everything else relative to Uranus has changed. Pluto is in a field then that it had only occupied 250 years ago, but obviously something has changed with the planet Earth itself. The inhabitants of the planet will have changed, the awareness will have changed, the consciousness will not be what it was in the 1960s. Go ahead.
Yeah. Could I respond to
Yes,
Johnny here
yes,
too?
absolutely. This is Raymond Merriman answering to Johnny.
You want me to hold the microphone? Would it help?
No, we better not know.
Okay. So what I wanted to say to Johnny is that in astrology, we consider a cycle starts when the planets come together. But then we look at the quarter cycles. They're called hard aspects. So if you look at Uranus Pluto began the 1960s, as Michael said, and now we're at the first quarter. It's a square. And when you go back to the 1960s, there was a lot of similar social unrest, political unrest, and financial unrest kind of started into that. Was like sort of one of the peaks of the growth period. And we went through a long, stagnant period after the mid-60s till the early 90s. And if you go back to the quarter cycle before that, it was 1931, 1932. Which is also a very socially, politically unrestful time and a financial market period. So when Michael talks about the opposition coming, it's the second phase of this Uranus Pluto, and it has the same themes as these other phases.
I understand that.
Go ahead.
But
This is important. Everybody discusses it.
my thinking is that it's like with the technologies coming in,
Yes.
that would mean, to me at least, that, okay, it started in the 60s. It's now becoming slowly public, so to
Right.
speak. And another quarter cycle would mean that it's then a flash.
Well, yes. I mean, the conjunction is where it's conceived,
Yeah.
okay? And the first quarter square, which we're in now, is where it's kind of birthing.
Yeah.
And then it's peaking at the opposition. So this whole computer technology revolution we'll be going through started really in the 60s. It really came alive in the, now it's really becoming alive. But it's just really, it's going to go very fast now until this opposition is much, if you look at the advancement ratio, you might say, it's going to like double what it's done in the first quarter. It's going to double in the second quarter, something like that,
So
approximately.
what then begins